Hello, and welcome back to the ministry. This is Taj McCameron, and today I'm talking about part 2 of part 4. So I'm glad I stopped where I stopped previously in the video because I wanted to address some things, and this entire direction is not so much that it's shifting, but it's addressing a series of things in the midst of it. Pay close attention. So, at this point in the film, we see Darren's character at the picnic, okay? Let me tell you something about your enemies. Your enemies will wait until you get to a place where everyone is celebrating you, everyone is happy, everyone is in enjoyment of you. They see you in success. They see you are prevailing. It's visually evident. They even see your happiness, okay? Darren was happy at the picnic. He was enjoying the company of everybody else. He was actually starting to rekindle something with Lily, all these kinds of things. But of course, the serpent must come in. Pauline Paletta, got a phone call the night before from Darren's assistant, I think it was. And she took the call saying, I'll receive it for her. And found out a bunch of information that she should have never gained access to. Okay? Let me explain something to you. And I'm going to insert this here. Number one, there are people in higher positions that have no interest in you gaining access or exceeding them, moving them out the way, or potentially causing their plans to be derailed. Okay? Pay close attention to this. I wanted to just talk about ministry, all right? With all that we've been seeing happening right now, I was privy to a conversation of a pastor. It had been about 4 years ago. Somewhere around right after the beginning of the pandemic. And he made the point of saying this, and he said it more than once during that period of time, that in ministry, there's such a thing as the ministry mafia, okay? They call it this because of the fact that it operates just like that. They see someone new coming in. They've already clicked themselves off into the directions and where they want themselves to be. Someone new comes in with the desire to do something different. Think about politics, because that's what it is politics in ministry. And we know that that was never good. Politics in ministry, especially to the capacity that politics operates. Well, the Lord let me see a couple other things, all right? Because he was allowed me the ability to be privy to something else. And that was this. That upper heads, whether it's ministry, politics, wherever it is, they like to keep their positions. And they will move to capacities, to whatever capacity in which they desire to move. I'm even going to tell you this about something that happened to me. That I wasn't even operating to this capacity, all right? And I had a run-in with an individual, and they were staying with me in the same place in space at the time, all right? But they said something randomly to me that seemed extremely pointed and very uncomfortable. And the statement they said, "I lie to you not," was this: "What? They don't even come to check to make sure ain't nobody in here dead, or somebody got wrapped up in plastic or something at all that capacity." Why am I saying this? This individual that I knew immediately said that they knew stuff about mafia tendencies. Didn't find this out till afterwards. Now, maybe that's personal experience on their part, but normally that would make anybody shook. I wasn't concerned because I know I'm protected in the blood of Jesus Christ. But I found that that was an unusual statement to make. You understand what I'm saying? So, what am I saying here? There are individuals in high places and high positions will do anything to keep power, position, placement, so on and so forth. They will set somebody up first for accusation in order to blackmail them. Secondarily, they will do it. If that don't work, they will use a scare tactic, intimidation, in order to dominate and gain access to hope that the individual will back up. Okay? Because they find that individual to be more threatening than themselves. Remember, we are children of God, and as children of God, Satan and his minions do not like us. Right? What went further with that understanding is this. I was listening to Dana Ray. She did a video on the leaders. This is a recent video. And she talked about the fact that there's such a thing as a ministry operating in fraternity. And I was sitting there like, fraternity? Now, we all know, if anybody followed Tiffany Montgomery, that fraternity isn't a good aspect. And that wasn't the first time I heard somebody mention about fraternity. But Tiffany Montgomery released a prayer, and I read the entire thing. It took three hours to read that entire prayer. I said this before. Part of something that was in that prayer talked about Freemasonry, having rings, having rings, robes, some other type of memorabilia to show that you're part of this fraternity under Freemasonry as a pastor. Okay? Operating cult-like cutthroat behaviors. These individuals will look at it as if it's godly behavior. God is not pleased with this. You understand what I'm saying? Why am I even mentioning this? For one, at this particular point in the film, this woman has now gained information that she can use against this man. As we know, Saul chased David and attempted to bring him to death. There are actual scriptural, I believe in the Psalms, that talk about how David was literally brought to anguish within himself because of the way Saul was chasing after him. But David got the upper hand in that situation, okay? Because of the fact that David found himself in a position that he could have killed Saul. See, true children of God have the ability that if presented with an opportunity to destroy somebody, they'll choose not to. But they may let them know, I came that close. I could have destroyed you, but I came that close. There are people, even on these YouTube streets, that if given pieces of information, and sometimes I wonder if it's a test to these individuals, I'm being 100% honest, that if given these pieces of information against another YouTube minister, would you pray for this individual or would you expose them? I was listening to a mentor of mine before I even stepped back from this individual, and this person said something referring to someone else and said, anyone that is seeking, though you were hurt, maybe you were church hurt, maybe you were what have you, the desire to expose and destroy actually comes from a hurt place within yourself that needs to be healed within you internally. Okay? Because there is something within you that desires to destroy. I was listening to a minister yesterday making the point of saying that if you think someone else is operating in foolery, that you are putting yourself in a state of detrimentalness before the Lord, because it says when David had the ability to kill Saul. Touch not my anointed, do my prophet no harm. And someone brought up the attention of the fact that Saul was God's chosen. Though he went the wrong way, he was God's chosen. Even David can't even be held as innocent because of what he did after he became king. No man, we are all human in flesh, is incapable of making mistakes. Who has the ability to be judge and juror to any individual but God himself? I always put it this way. God does not, how do I put it this way? That God does not desire for any man to perish. But you ain't got no heaven or hell to put me in. Don't ever forget your place as a human being. God may give you gifts. God may give you talents. But it is pride that will make you boastful and stand up. Okay? When you don't know the placement of that person's position in God. You don't know what they do with God. Because remember, David, with all of the mess that he did, was still looked upon in a good way and manner by God. Why? Because he brought his sins back to God. There are some individuals we have seen, even on these platforms, state that they, in the midst of their sin, have gone back to God and said, I'm still having the trouble with this. This is iniquity I can't break. There are other individuals on these platforms that would say, because this person is having a problem with this iniquity, oh, let me expose them for their iniquity. That's a problem within that individual's heart. And you better be careful if you say God said it. And God didn't say that. Okay? Because you're putting yourself on the docket with the Lord. And God's supernatural clapback system is ugly when he gets angry with the person. Why you think he has his children pray mercy over individuals at times? If you think that there are enemies and God be saying, pray and forgive your enemies, what do you think when these are individuals that were chosen by God that slid and went in the wrong direction? He feels in relation to these individuals. God was upset when Jesus was persecuted and put on that cross. All of these individuals were his children. God can have wisdom, God can have understanding. But people have human error. People have the ability to error. That's what Dana Vay's video was talking about. Leaders operate in error. It is an error. Okay? But sometimes it takes taking the time to step back and privately have a pointed discussion with that individual. But see, in some cases, these individuals, whether they are on social media platforms or leaders, believe that they are higher than, high and mighty, and operate on a level that they cannot be corrected. And this is something I have heard from an actual minister said this. You can't correct up, but you have the ability, understand this, to make mention. You have the ability to go to the Lord and say, Lord, I see this behavior in this individual. I see that behavior in this individual. I see that behavior in this individual. And because I see that behavior, what should I do? This individual was exposed for this, or this individual was acting this way, but I also see that this individual may be dealing with something. But the spirit I see on this individual is completely different from the spirit I see on that one, or have seen on that individual. What did I just do there? I took it to God first. You think that I don't see a lot of stuff that be going on these internet streets? I see a lot of stuff that be going on these YouTube streets. And the most important thing that you can do when you see stuff like that, God, your word says. And let me tell you something. What's going to happen when you do that is God's going to expose the hearts of those individuals that you're confused about. They themselves will expose themselves. if they're doing wrong. Why? Because when you start to pray for these individuals, God will do the exposing. You see how that works? Because they'll start to have a slip of a tongue. They'll start to admit certain things. They'll start to do certain things, expose themselves in such ways, and it will be them that did it. You ain't going to have to say a daggone thing about the individual. The best exposure that could ever happen to an individual is when an individual exposes themselves. Am I making sense? Am I making sense? Why did I just say all of that? And if you think that ain't got nothing to do with the word that I'm talking about, pay close attention. Because remember, the picnic is the moment that Pauletta walked out there and made it her business to say in front of everybody about the fact that Darren had just got his job back and how he had been under investigation by these people and that Internal Revenue Service and all this kind of stuff, which was none of her business to tell. But she felt it was her duty. There are a lot of Christians out there because out of jealousy, a hardened heart, envy, all of these things operating in a level of absolute bitterness because of where the individual is, what they're doing at the time. They don't got the ability to do that. So because they have to do this and they have to do that, but that person's over there doing something completely different, living their life to the fullest of abundance. The word talks about circumcise your heart, doesn't it? I'm hearing another scripture right now that talks about guard your heart, for the issues of life come from it. Some people got more issues with the person than they have with the actual issue they trying to expose. You understand what I'm saying? Whether it was the fact of where they are, what they're doing, and the fact they ain't doing it, so on and so forth. And they have the understanding that in some ways, if they can expose this other individual to that capacity, everyone will turn their back on the individual. Oh, we about to get into scripture because I got a scripture for you for this. Okay? We about to dig in deep to this because the Lord gave me revelation. I just wanted to set the groundwork because if you thought this was going to be a cute word, sorry. And I knew that this was going to shift here at a particular point, but it had to. Okay? Okay. I'm going to set up the stage for this because I'm probably going to run out of space in the next minute and a half. That Hezekiah in 2 Kings 18 was put into position by God over a land. Certain things were going on within that land. There was a level of development that had occurred, and it was a necessity for it to be a shift. Okay? But what the enemy did was that they used the observation of blackmail, just like this woman did, to come against the individual. You understand what I'm saying? So I'm going to come back and we're going to dig into this.